I was pulled over earlier. This is an earlier story, but it tells you.
This is not the actual story you're going to tell. This is an adjunct.
This is a tangential story.
Okay.
This is a little bit of your solar power in the snow. I was pulled over, and it was on Decatur by the Starbucks there, Trop in Decatur, for those locals who listen. And I was pulled over by a police officer for speeding. It must have been like a mile over the speed limit. So it's one of those weird speed places that sneak up on you, where it's 35, where it's been 45 everywhere else or something. So I get pulled over, police officer, and I'm excited. Oh, boy, here I go. Here's the fun. And the police officer comes over, and instantly 3 other police cars come up, full cherry top. And the other police officer jumps out and goes, "That's Penn Jillette. What are you doing?" And he comes over and goes, "Sorry, man, he's a rookie. Don't pull him over." Because these other police officers have had a touch of my pure performance art that I do. Now, when a police officer pulls me over, my heart starts beating, but not in trepidation. I trust the police very much. My heart starts beating with pure excitement and joy. I'm talking about more excitement than I had going on Saturday Night Live with the Upside Down bit, which I believe is the best bit we've ever done on TV. It was Saturday Night Live. It was hugely successful, fabulous, and I was jacked to high heaven, but not as jacked as I am when a police officer pulls me over. I mean, I swear I'm hard. I mean, it's just
you like it.
I love it.
Okay.
So this gentleman who pulled me over was probably about 30, I guess, African American. He was the tan shirts are Highway Patrol, right? Not Metro.
No, Metro is the tan.
Metro's the tan. So he's Metro, right? Vegas Metro.
Yeah.
But before so I'm sitting there in the car, and I am just excited. I'm like, in the dressing room like Don Rickles. Yeah. Very, very excited. It's there. And if we have to pay for that, it goes to Paul Anka, just so you know. You just perhaps given money to Paul Anka.
He's a good guy. He doesn't hit.
I don't, what, you've heard the Paul Anka tape, haven't you, of him talking to his band?
No.
I don't want ideas. It's very, very good. Listen to the Paul Anka tape. After the show's over, just go and Google Paul Anka talking to his band, and it's fabulous. He comes over, and as he's walking to the car, when he's walking to the car, I know that to get my rhythm going, I have to make the first move. Because if he says something first, then we're into his script.
Yeah, sure.
And this is
an improv study.
This is
you want to set the stage.
This is my show. My show, my car. I've got the window rolled down. I have both hands on the steering wheel where he can see them. So I know that my chances of getting shot are very, 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 very low. As he walks over to the car, I go, "Pardon me, sir, do you keep a diary?" So the first word out of the police officer's mouth is not "citizen" or "what are you doing" or any sort of accusation. The first word out of his mouth is "what?" Now, when you have a police officer saying "what," you have the upper hand. Because now in this situation, crazy trumps authority figure. And I mean, when you're talking crazy, I am David Allan Coe, Tiny Tim, Sun Ra, all mixed together. There's just nothing but out of that window of that car, he can see the crazy. He can see this crazy and friendly crazy. And I say, what? Do you keep a diary? Do you keep a journal? Do you write down all your thoughts like a 16-year-old girl? Do you do that? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's a little defensive. Because this is a banner day for you, officer. This is the greatest day you're going to have. You're going to write this down. You know what you just did? And he says his second line. We're looking at the transcript now. His second line, what? Do you know what you just did? What are you talking about? You just pulled over the first fully electric car in Las Vegas. This is the first Leaf, the first need. Now, I'm lying at this point because there's Fisters that are out there.
Yes.
But they take gas. Fisters take gas.
Yes.
I believe there's
all
a
the
smart
others take
car.
gas.
I certainly think it's the first fully electric car. I go, this is a big deal for you. Okay. Now, the whole thing is shifted. because now he's in my show. And he says, really?
That's when you know it's going the way you want it. You got it.
I have been pulled over for a police officer, and so far he has said, what? What? Really? That's all he said. And I said, yeah, it's a fully electric car. There's no gas in this car. It's 100% electric, and I have the only one in all of Nevada. They gave me this special. And then his third line, how'd you get that? I said, I pulled strings. This is the first fully electric car. Do you know what that means? He goes, well, I know what electric. I said, do you know what that means? He goes, I said, so now the cop is flustered. He's been asked questions he can't answer. Exactly like 4 times tonight, he has said to people, why do you have an open container of grain alcohol in your car? And they've gone, he's doing the same thing. I go, I'll tell you why that's important. You've pulled me over. My car is stopped. Everyone else you pull over, their car is idling. You know what that means? It means there are polar bears. You know, sweet little polar bears on ice floes who are suffering because you've pulled them over. But now, you know what we're using for energy? We're using no energy whatsoever. I'm just stopped here. You're standing there, and we can have this conversation as long as you want or as long as I want without upsetting the polar bears. We are putting out no energy whatsoever. We're just stopped. And I have plenty of time. How about you? I've just asked the police officer how long he wants to stay with me pulled over, which is, once again, the opposite situation. Many people are trying to leave as quickly as they can. I am excited and happy. And then I say the sentence, and some listeners here are going to lose me here. Some of the listeners are going right now, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's fun. I guess Penn's having a good time. This next interchange, some people are going to go, ooh, that's unpleasant. It's not unpleasant. It's still fun. It's just weirder. Okay? I say to him, do you know how long we can stay here without causing any damage? Do you know how long we can stay here? He says, no, I don't know. I said, we could stay here until a drunk driver comes along and just bang, hits you with the car and you're gone. We could stay here till a drunk driver hits you with a car. Because you know where you're standing is wicked dangerous. And you can stand there listening to me until a drunk driver hits you with the car. And he says, well, I hope that doesn't happen. And I said, and that's what I wanted to get to right now. The fact that your hopes and my hopes are different. I said, we're hoping for different things. I'm hoping to drive home and see my friend, and you're hoping to meet some sort of quota. And he says, do you know what you did wrong? I said, yes, I do, sir. Nothing. But what you're going to tell me is what I did illegal. I said, because you know there is a difference. Would you like to go into that? Would you like to go into the fact that something's illegal does not necessarily mean it's morally wrong? He said, no, and I don't want to get hit by a car. I said, but we can have you hit by a car without upsetting the polar bears. and he says, okay, you had your handheld device out while you were stopped. I said, yeah, I was stopped at a light. I checked my email. That's what you pulled me over for? He said, well, yes. I said, good. He said, can I see your paperwork? I said, oh, boy, now it gets fun because I have no idea where my paperwork is. I said, so maybe why don't you get on a helicopter out here? Why don't we cuff me and take me in? I think it's time for me to go to prison. How long am I going to do for this? He said, just show me your license.
It's a new car. You may not have any of that stuff.
So I pull out my license, and I show him my license. He looks at it, puts it back in. I put it back in. And then he says, show me your insurance and registration. I said, I barely know what those words mean. I said, the great thing is, though, tonight, if you make a bust, I go to prison, someone in my office gets fired. Because someone was supposed to put that in. It's in the glove compartment, right? And he says, yes. And he says, I said, can I use my phone to light up the glove compartment so I can see in? And he said, no, you cannot use the handset of your phone when you are in control of the vehicle. I said, well, here's an interesting legal point, because right now I believe you're in control of the vehicle, because if you weren't, I'd be home by now. And he said, don't use I said, I'm just going to use mine. He said, don't pull the phone out right in front of me and use it. I go, the car's stopped. There's a police officer here. He said, use your overhead light. I said, I don't know where it is because it's a new car. It's the first one that's in Nevada. Do you realize the excitement of this? So I reach in and I pull out the manuals and I start going through them. And he said, your insurance and your registration are not going to be in that manual. I said, I know that. I know that fully well. I'm going through the manual to find cool parts to read you about how great my new car is, because we need to fill out your diary a little more. I want you to know, like, where the buttons are in the car. So let's look through together, shall we? He said, I'm not reading the manual with you. He said, I think I see the registration and the insurance in there. I said, well, why don't you get it? You're the professional. I said, come on, get in the car with me. We'll drive a little bit. We'll talk on the phone. As a matter of fact, you can check my email so we get in no trouble with other police. Also, you're safer in here than you are out there, because now I'm worried, even with the polar bears being okay, you're going to get hit by a drunk driver. Doesn't that scare you? And he goes, I'm not getting in your car. Reach over there. I said, okay. So I hand him the registration and the insurance card, and he says, yeah, this is all in order. This is very new. I said, yes, it's a new car. Isn't that great? And it's all electric. So that guilt you feel with pulling people over, at least you don't have to feel the guilt for the polar bears at the same time. And the police officer goes, okay, fine. Put all this back and we're done. You can go. And I say to him, are you sure? Because I think we could talk a little more. He said, just don't use your handset in the car and you can go. And I go, he goes, oh, one more thing. He says, is this your current address? I said, that's not my current address. That's the address of my office. I'm not giving my address to you. I don't want you to know my real address. And then I said, wait, I've hurt your feelings, haven't I? I'm sorry. You can have my real address. I'm right down here, down this. Why don't you come over? Come on over. I said, when do you get off work? Come on over. We'll watch a movie. We'll hang out. I like you. He says, no. Fine, put all this stuff away and just drive away. Fine, we're done. And I go, I like you. And he says, first time he smiled or laughed, he goes, I like you too. Now, this story is really, really important philosophically to me. I am not afraid of the police in this country. My dad was a deputy sheriff.
Sure.
We knew the police in my town. The police in my town were, even though I was busted for drugs many times without having them because I had long hair and they were unfair about that, it never crossed my mind that police would hurt me. When I was 17 years old with long hair and eye makeup, I dressed any way I wanted, and I never had fear that police officers would actually hurt me. I felt like I was innocent. I felt like they wouldn't hurt me. I felt like they were doing their jobs and that I could monkey with them. And do you understand that story of me monkeying with the police and laughing and doing all these jokes and even making jokes about their physical danger? Right. Inappropriate jokes. I mean, I'll give you 100% that's an inappropriate joke. Even doing that, I had no fear of the police. No fear whatsoever. Do you realize the level of respect that's giving the police? That to treat a police officer as a peer, as a friendly person serving their community instead of an adversary, that is the way the world should be. Uh-huh. And when I talk about how people should feel innocent all the time, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have not stolen something, you have not hurt anybody, you have not done anything that's obviously wrong, when a police officer pulls you over, you should have a feeling of this is an okay situation. What I want out of utopia, what I want out of a libertarian society, what I want out of perfection, what I want out of legalized drugs, all legalized sex, gay marriage, everything, all being legal, is I want everybody to feel like that when they're pulled over by the police, except for real criminals. And when Geraldo made that nutty statement about
hoodies?
Trayvon
Oh, yeah.
not wearing hoodies. When Obama made what I think is the most beautiful poetic statement he's made of his presidency, and he's a good speaker, about if I had a son,
Yeah, it would look like that.
he would look like Trayvon. That just stopped my breathing. I mean, that is a beautiful thing for the president to say.
Yeah.
And to their credit, I believe all the Republican candidates. I don't know about people like Pat Robertson and nuts, but when I'm not saying that the people who are Republican candidates are not nuts. Do not misquote me on that. I'm not saying that these are sane.
That was a ringing endorsement.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they all seem to think that hunting an American youngster who's holding an Arizona iced tea and Skittles is wrong. You don't know the whole story, and I'm not going to say something that I will regret later. The way the story came out, of course, there's no doubt whose side we're on. But you should be able to walk through the United States of America dressed any way you want, whether that's a hoodie or that's a chicken suit, which is what I should wear when I drive. Mental note: wear chicken suit when driving. You should have the relationship I had with that police officer. Everybody should have that. And some people listening are going, well, it's also because you have a show on the Strip and he probably recognized you. I don't know that for a fact. Not everybody recognizes me.
You weren't in your pink car.
I was in my pink car. He did see my license, but the name Penn Jillette is not a household name. So I don't know what he thought. But I'm telling you, and I will give you my word on this, that when I was completely unknown, that is precisely the same way I dealt with police officers.
Okay.
When I was homeless, that's the way I dealt with police officers. Because my relationship with the police for my whole life has been very, very good. I was put into I was locked up overnight once. You ever been locked up?
Yeah.
What were you locked up for?
Mistaken identity. I was arrested and thrown in jail overnight.
Really?
Yeah.
I had hitchhiked into Chicago. I was not living anywhere. I was 18. I hitchhiked into Chicago and been dropped off on a Friday night at like 2 a.m. in a very, very unfriendly neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And a police officer pulled me over. I was walking. Police officer pulled over, got out of the car, asked me some questions. And I was goofy and belligerent. You can't shoot under my patch. But I was also funny, And he said, I'm going to take you to jail overnight. I'm not going to search your pack. I'm not going to book you. I don't even need to know your name. I just want to put you in jail overnight. And I said, why? And he said, because I leave you out here, your chances of dying are very, very good. And he said, I don't want to fill out a murder report. It's too much of a pain in the ass. So get in the car. And I said, well, you're really not alive because you're not being booked. You're not being arrested. Nothing is happening to you. You're just going to jail overnight so you're safe. Have you got a place to sleep? I said, no. He said, come on, let's go. And he took me to a jail in Chicago. And he put me in there with my pack and with everything else, didn't check ID, and said, do me a favor, kid. If one of the guys in the other cell asks you for like a knife or nail clippers or something, just say no. Just don't give him anything. And I said, well, what am I being? He said, you're just here. I just saved your life. That's all that happened. And I said, okay. And I had a nice sleep in the jail cell. And at like 9 in the morning or whenever it was, he banged on the bars, same police officer, and said, come on, where are you going? He said, I'm off work now. I'll just drive you to where you're going. I said, well, I'm going to see my friend Mark, who lives by the Science Museum. He goes, that's not too far on my way. I'll give you a ride back there. And I got in the car with him. And he left me off and said, if you ever get a chance, say something nice about Chicago police.
Wow.
I said, I absolutely will. He said, we need hippies saying nice stuff about us now and again. This is 72, 73. And he left me off. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that's always been my relationship with the police. And that is the relationship that every citizen who is within morality should have with every police officer in the USA.